Hi, hello everybody and welcome to my first IELTS video. Now, I've been teaching IELTS a long time and I've helped a lot of learners get really great marks and do very well. So I thought it'd be a good idea for me to share a little bit of my knowledge and my experience. So we're going to start in a really simple, really easy place. We're going to start in part one of the speaking section. Now, I'm sure that you know in part one of the speaking section, the examiner asks you for around 4 or 5 minutes questions about yourself. So they ask questions about things like your hometown, your job, your education, your hobbies, your interests, all stuff like that. Not complex subjects. Not like part three, where they're asking you really difficult, more challenging things, where they're asking you to debate and discuss educational or social issues. They're just asking you about yourself. Now, I always think that this is a little bit of a gimme. Now, gimme is an English expression that's saying give me, which kind of means it's like a gift. Because talking about yourself isn't so difficult. It's one of the things you do at the start of your English language journey. So you should have a lot to say. So I always look at it like this. And my first tip is to think about not just the question the examiner asks you, but also the follow-up questions. So, for example, if they ask you, what's your hobby? Now you could say, I read books, or I play football, or I go traveling. Now those answers are good. You can answer one that's grammatically correct. You can answer one with the right bit of vocabulary. But if it's short, if it's simple, it's not really pushing you up for, it's not really showing good fluency, it's not showing good coherence. So what you need to think about is, okay, they've asked me one question. What follow-up questions would the examiner be asking? So if the examiner asks you, what's your hobby? Maybe a follow-up question, where do you do that hobby? When do you do that hobby? Who do you do that hobby with? How long have you done that hobby? So a good tip, I think, to use is to say, right, okay, I'm going to answer the first question and I'm going to predict what the examiner might ask after. And I could say, for example, I like to play football. I play every week on a Monday in a league with my friends. I've been playing football for about 20 years. I really love it. It's my big hobby. I play and I also go to watch the games. Now, straight away, I've gone beyond that. I've used some different language and I've pushed my answer a little bit further. I've made it sound more fluent. I've made it sound longer, which is a simple metric, but it's a good one. And I've also made it sound a little bit more complex with my language. Really good way of doing it. Another great tip that I think is good to use is also to think about if you can use different tenses in your answer. Now, if they ask what your hobby is, I can say I like to play football. I could also, if I use a different example, say I like to read. What you can do to make your answer nice and interesting is talk about the last book you read. So you talk in the present. Yeah, I like to read. I'm a big fan of reading novels, of reading fiction. The last book I read, and then you give details about that book. So what you've done, you've brought in some vocabulary, you've brought in some fluency, you've brought in some depth, and you've changed your grammar. It's not crazy complex grammar, but still you've shown that you've moved from the present to the past. And that's a good way of showing your examiner that you're clear and you're confident with your language. My final big tip for today's video, there's going to be many more in future videos, but my final big tip for today is to use your bathroom mirror. Sorry, what? Use my bathroom mirror? Yeah. I always find when I'm practicing languages that I speak, and I speak some French, not very well, I'm sure you all speak better English than I speak French. When I want to practice, I walk into my bathroom, I look into my mirror, and I imagine I'm having a conversation with myself. And I try to talk about simple things, and I try to talk as much as I can. I think this is a great way to practice. Each day when you're prepping for the exam, set yourself 5 minutes. Go and stand, look at your mirror and talk about your jobs. Talk about your hobby, talk about your university education, talk about the city you live in, and try to talk about it for 3, 4, 5 minutes. Imagine questions that people could ask you and then try and answer them into the mirror. I know it sounds a bit crazy, I know it sounds a bit weird, but honestly, I think it works. Okay, whoa, that's been a long video. I hope you've got all those points from it. The main thing to remember, try to go beyond. Don't just answer one question in a short, simple way. Try to make it more complex. Try to bring in more vocabulary. Try to bring in more grammar, and that will have a really important impact for you. Okay, I hope you've liked this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up and a subscribe. There's going to be a lot more IELTS and TOEIC videos coming very soon. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye-bye. And don't forget, like and subscribe. Bye-bye now.